Sometimes you're not sad, you're not in pain, you're not anxious, you just don't feel. Welcome to Psychology for Weeboos. Just kidding. Clinically, apathy is not depression, it is not sadness, it is not pain, it is the lack of feeling, it's emptiness. You're not in pain, but you're not fully alive either. Nothing matters, you don't want anything. You know, sometimes you try and try and try, and you just don't seem to get anywhere. And people tell you, and your mind tell you, don't give up, keep trying, good things come with those who wait. But you know, once I read something that was really interesting to me, and it was that sometimes hope is a cause of depression. How can we explain that? Why does it happen? From an evolutionary perspective, apathy makes sense. It's a signal to save energy. Your brain is telling you to stop. This is not worth it. And it makes sense in hostile environments where the rewards are not clear. You're not getting anything for your effort. You're stuck. So it's useful to take a breath, to regroup, like an emotional hibernation, to find a new strategy or a new goal. And the way evolution achieves this is with what we call low mood. In this book, Good Reasons for Bad Feelings, Randolph Nisi talks about the evolutionary reasons for negative emotions. And one of them is low mood. Low mood, what it does, it makes you don't want to do stuff. Or stop doing stuff that is not rewarding, is not giving you a benefit. So that brings me to apathy. What is apathy, and if is it the same as depression? I think they're separate, and I think one of the reasons some people don't get better with depression treatment is because they're not depressed. They are apathetic. And in a way, they kind of have similar reasons. For example, depression is being sad, being in pain, feeling guilt. And people who are depressed, they want to get better. They just can't. And contrary to that, apathy, it's lack of feeling. You're not anxious, you're not suffering, you're not sad, but you're kind of just not fully living. To me, if you think of motivation, depression is a lack of motivation. And if we think about it, motivation, it has to have some neurobiology. It has to do with dopamine, which some people think that it's reward or pleasure, but it's not. Dopamine, it's motivation. It also has to do with some parts of the brain to initiate movement, like the basal ganglia and stuff like that. So if you have low motivation, you probably have low dopamine, and it makes sense to have a hard time moving. So if you're doing stuff, not getting rewards, not getting views, you're trying to keep doing the same stuff because they tell you to not give up, you're feeling down. And that feeling on our environment, or primitive environment, was designed to, make us stop, look around, and maybe plan something different. It means we're not getting resources, we're not getting mates, this strategy is not working, so you better change because it could be dangerous to keep wasting energy with something that is fruitless. But now we keep going and we keep going and we keep going. Why? Because, we have this capacity to think, okay, if I just keep doing the same. Or also we get some ideas about our worth. It's not that the thing we're doing is useless, is that we think we are useless. We think we are stupid, but we keep doing it and we keep doing it. So every time this happens, our brain learns that there's no reward. So we start to get in a perpetual state of sometimes depression, sometimes apathy. And apathy is like, we don't care, we don't want anything, nothing matters. And maybe in our primitive environment, we would feel bad for a while, then we just had to go somewhere else, look somewhere else. But now we're not just like trapped by a lack of resources, we're trapped in dead end jobs or burnout or stuff like that. Stuff that is not gonna end if we don't do something different, if we don't get to quit. To me, that's a paradox of the apathy, because the cure for apathy looks a lot like depression and apathy, which is giving up. But you gotta know the correct things to give up. You have to give up the thought that you gotta feel better in order to start living, or that you have to be motivated. That's probably the reason why behavioral activation is so useful for depression, for apathy. And there's a lot of people that thought they were depressed, but in my opinion, they were apathetic. So we got to give up like trying to get rid of bad feelings. Remember, there are good reasons for them. What we gotta do is listen to them and move and just let them be there. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. So anyway, this is just a test. This is my psychology for otakus. Just kidding. You can listen to if you're a weeboo. Well, I'm just joking. It's for everyone. This is probably gonna be 0 views, but hopefully, if you're feeling apathetic, you realize that there's a reason why you're not feeling now. It's probably you've been beaten up by circumstances, and now you're trapped. You feel like, okay, when I feel better, as I said, the paradox or the irony is that we gotta move before we feel better. But hopefully this show you that maybe there's something, a different strategy that might work. Maybe you realize there's some stuff that you gotta give up and start living well before feeling well. Goodbye.